Welcome back to Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur, where the Daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David, Messiah, the son of David. We're holding by Chullin, page 94b, towards Amar Mar. Amar Mar, Ugoy ben Shlema ben Chatucha, in the Sarich, Little ben Gidanoshe, Mayaskinu Lemon Malcolm Shbachris, and Chatucha, my Eno Sarich, Little ben Gidanoshe, Kevin the Lachruz, Ossi the Mizban Mine. The Master said in the Braita, and in the case of one who sends a thigh to a Gentile, regardless of whether it is cut or whole, he is not required to remove the sciatic nerve from it. The Gemara asks, what are we dealing with? If we say that it is referring to a place where all the butchers are Jewish, and they announce every time they sell non-kosher meat to a Gentile, then in the case of a thigh that has been cut, why is one not required to remove the sciatic nerve? Since it was not announced that they sold non-kosher meat, a Jew might come to purchase it from a Gentile without realizing that it still contains the sciatic nerve. Ela pshita b'makom she'ein machrizin ema metziyoso b'vnei shnei dvarim amro ein moichin ve'lo yisutrefes legoy echad b'pnei shemateihu ve'echad shem yachzor v'imkarenu Yisrael achel. Rather, it is obvious that it is referring to a place where they do not announce every time they sell non-kosher meat, and in such a place a Jew would not purchase meat from a Gentile, but say the middle clause of the Braita. And it was due to two factors that the sages said that one may not sell meat from an unslaughtered animal, from unslaughtered animal carcasses, or trephos to a Gentile. One is because it misleads him, and another is the concern lest the Gentile then sell the meat to another Jew, who will think it is kosher, since it originally was sold by a Jew. B'makom she'machrizin halo yasi l'mizban minei ela pshita b'makom she'machrizin. But if the Braita is referring to a place where they do not announce every time they sell non-kosher meat to a Gentile, a Jew will not come to purchase the meat from the Gentile. Rather, it is obvious that the Braita is referring to a place where they announce every time they sell non-kosher meat. Ema seifo lo yamar adam legoy kach li b'dino ze baso b'nei shnei devarim echad b'nei anozim ve'echad shemachin lo nevelos u'trefois v'bimkom shmachrizin but say the latter clause. And similarly, a person may not say to a Gentile, purchase meat for me with this dinner, due to two factors. One factor is because of the oppressors, and another factor is lest the merchants sell him meat from unslaughtered carcasses or trephot without realizing that the Gentiles purchasing the meat on behalf of a Jew. But if it is referring to a place where they announce every time non-kosher meat is sold, if it would happen that it was a trade, the butchers would not have announced the fact, and the Jew would not know to eat that meat. Rather, it is obvious that the Braita is referring to a place where they do not announce every time non-kosher meat is sold. But is it possible at the first clause and the latter clause of the Braita are referring to a place where they do not announce every time non-kosher meat is sold, but the middle clause is referring to a place where they do announce every time non-kosher meat is sold? Amar Abaye in Reish b'mkom shemachrizin misyas b'mkom shemachrizin. Abaye said yes. The first clause and the latter clause of the Braita are referring to a place where they do not announce every time non-kosher meat is sold, and the middle clause is referring to a place where they do announce every time non-kosher meat is sold. Rava Amar kol b'mkom shemachrizin reish b'seiv sheichrizu misyas shelo yichrizu. Rava said The entire Bride is referring to a place where they announce every time non-kosher meat is sold. The first clause and the latter clause are referring to days when they announce that non-kosher meat had been sold, and the middle clause is referring to a day when they did not announce that non-kosher meat has been sold. Rav Ashi Amar Kulim B'Kom Shem Mechrizim Mitzvasek Gzeira Shem Marim Karen L'Panei Yisrael. Rav Ashi said the entire bride is referring to a place where they do not announce every time non-kosher meat is sold, and the reason the middle clause teaches that it's prohibited to sell meat from unslaughtered carcasses or treifot to a Gentile is due to a rabbinic decree lest a Jew sells the Gentile in the presence of another Jew who will think that this particular piece of meat is kosher. Heichi maskrinan machrezinon. Okay. The Gemara noted that there were places where they would announce whenever non-kosher meat was sold to a Gentile. The Gemara asks, how do we announce that non-kosher meat has been sold? The Gemara answers that Rabbi Yitzchak said, meat has fallen into our possession for the soldiers, meaning for the Gentiles. The Gemara objects, let them say, treif has fallen into our possession for the soldiers. The Gemara answers that if a butcher would publicize the fact that it's a treif, Gentiles would not purchase it from him because they would not want an animal rejected by the Jews. Veha kametai lehu inu dematin de ka matu nafshayah. The Gemara asks, but if the announcement is made in a way that obscures from the Gentiles the fact that the animal is a treifa, doesn't this deceive them? The Gemara answers, it is they who deceive themselves because the seller does not specify which kind of meat he is selling. It's still deceptive. Okay, anyway. Alright, ki ha demar zutra berei Rav Nachman havik asal mishsichra levei mechoza beravik asafra havik asal lesichra pagwa dadi hasaver leapei hadika asu amar lehu lama lehu lerabanan Ditaruach viatu kulihai. Amar le Rav Safra nan la Havyadin nikasi mao Yihavyadinan vehavi tarchinan. The Gemara cites proof that it is permitted to allow others to mislead themselves. It is like this incident when Marzutra, son of Rav Nachman, was going from the city of Sikra to the city of Beit Mechoza, and at the same time Rava and Rav Safra were going to Sikra. They met each other, and Marzutra thought they were coming out to greet him. He said to them, why did the rabbis exert themselves and come all this way to greet me? Rav Safra said to him, we did not know the master was coming. If we would have known, we would have exerted ourselves more. Amar le Rav, my time Amar le hachi de'ach leshte date. Amar le komentayin le inu iu hu to komentayin afshe. Rava said to Rav Safra, what is the reason that you said this to Marzutra? By telling him that we were not coming to greet you, by telling him that we were not coming to greet him, you upset him. Rav Safra said to Rava, but if I would not have said so, we would have misled him. Rava responded, Marzutra misled himself, since we never said we were coming to greet him. The Gemara returns to the topic of selling non-kosher meat to a Gentile. There was a certain Jewish butcher who said to another individual, la 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 la